Well, here we are again, 2025, Steve, and we're busy just capturing our Outriders 25 October trip to the Western Cape.
And there are the names of the participants that came along with us.
Fantastic. Departed on the 3rd of October and returned on the 12th. So quite an epic trip, lots to discuss and to share.
So the first stop that we had trailered the bikes down to Craft Renette, Chris?
Yeah, that's right. Yourself and myself, and then also Nick, alias Crispy. He was a singleton trailering his own bike to Craft Renette, and this of course was our next morning departure from Craft Renette. We had a wonderful evening, we settled in, we got up quite early, and we filled up, and then we headed out to the first stop at Aberdeen.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, where we haven't been before. We've often passed Aberdeen, and there was no brekkie at Victoria Square Guesthouse, which was a wonderful venue to stay. And of course, we left the trailers there to be collected on our return. But yes, going to Aberdeen for breakfast at the Padstal at Aberdeen.
And here you see what we call Big Sky.
Yes, it is Big Sky, man. Look at the beautiful weather. We were blessed with a beautiful start. You never know what you're going to get. You know, these trips we plan months in advance, and look at the beautiful weather.
But I think you were quite smart this time because you know, this is the right time of year to do the Cape. It's a winter rainfall region, so we got it right between the two, the summer and the winter.
Yeah, no, we have had a couple of runs, and we've been fortuitous. I mean, we've done three trips to the Western Cape before, mostly in September, and this year just almost out of necessity of fitting in with what suited most. We moved it to the first week of October, and what a gem it's been. This is that lovely road leading into to Aberdeen. On the way, of course, to Willowmore.
So I think maybe we should just give a little bit of an overview, Chris. This is quite a long trip that we did this year.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 12 days.
That's right. Yeah.
So you know, we really, I think, had an extremely lucky occurrence in not having any rain, or gosh, 1 day or 2 days with a little bit of mist, but that was it.
Yeah, Steve, a bit of mist here and there, and a bit of what we call spitting rain, you know, just a little shower. One extreme day of wind, and we'll get to that as well. Yeah, the weather, you know, the weather normally, I mean, what can you say? It's Western Cape. You don't know what you're going to get, but you've also got to try and hit the bullseye and pick the best time of the year, which we fortuitously got right, you know, it just allows for wonderful riding. You know, we did pack. We always pack for adversity. We pack the rain suits. We pack the hot stuff, and then of course one tries to pack as light as possible, so there's no excess. And the other three of us sitting at the Aberdeen Padstal. You can see Graham and Nick with us. And then yourself and me. So there were four of us that morning.
But maybe we can tell the story of how we found that Padstal. Do you remember?
What was it again, Steve?
It was Werner's View.
Oh, let's give credit to Werner's View.
Werner's View. We watched it, and he stopped at the Padstal there and had a roosterkoek.
That's right. He was with his wife and daughter.
Yeah.
In that particular video that he does, and he does such a great job. You know, he makes you want to hit the road, no doubt.
Yeah.
So we followed Werner there. Thank you, Werner. It was a good tip, and we certainly endorsed it. And we also spoke about you, Werner, to the owners of the Padstal there at Aberdeen, who have fond memories of your visits there.
Yeah. And now we're on our way all after Aberdeen.
Yeah.
And I mean, the roads were fantastic, Chris.
Yeah, this is it's the N9, you know, the coastal road. Oh, there's some fellow bikers. We actually came across quite a few guys. This is a big group heading back. It looked like they predated us by a week if you look at the size and the amount of luggage they're carrying.
pulling into De Rust and the famous Roy's Cafe.
It's incredible. This corner cafe has brought so many memories to us. It's just up the road from the start of Meyringspoort.
Correct.
Which I have to put in here, Steve. That's definitely one of your favorites, if I remember correctly. After the coffee.
Well, you'll see now.
There we go. And what happened there is we sat and had our coffee and maybe something to nibble on, and you actually said, look, we're at Meyrings, we can't pass Meyrings.
No, you can't.
And you asked about the timing, and it looked like it was okay. And then Graham, who had actually gone up ahead, he'd already done Meyrings,
yes.
And he met us there, shared the coffee and said no, he's keen to go back up Meyrings as well. So Graham did two trips up Meyrings, we did one up Meyrings, and then headed on for the rest of our journey down to Mossel Bay on that day. A little bit of traffic. It can be frustrating, but then again, the environment is so beautiful that it allows you to twist your neck a bit, and have a good look at the cliffs and the rock formations as you time your passing.
And along this road, Chris, there's some of your friends, so we have to just watch out for them.
They're omnipresent when it comes to mountains, these guys. These notorious South African baboons. And they're not to be messed with. They sort of check you out, these things. They have a way about them that really unsettles me. It can really tip me over, excuse the pun. But baboons are always to be looked out for. As with other game, we've seen on past trips. You'll recall Sutherland trip when that
I think
it was a ribbok. It was a ribbok.
Yeah.
It ran in between you and me.
Yes.
Just missed you. These things happen.
The heart rate goes up a little.
Yeah. But look at this. What a beautiful road.
Now this Meyringspoort is stunning, and I mean they keep it super clean.
Yeah.
It's really a tourist attraction in my view.
Yeah, Steve, and we seem to get it at its prime after the rainy season every year when it's greened up and it looks like the roads have been washed down for us. I mean, look at the condition. There's not a speck of dust. It's plate clean.
It's interesting how the brake lights flash like that, because they're not actually flashing. This is just the timing of the video in relation to the pulsation of the LEDs.
I didn't know that.
Did you see that?
I didn't know that. I see it now, yeah.
It looks like we're very important going along there with flashing lights.
Next time we'll make them in blue and maybe they'll let us pass. Yeah. Bikes all behaving well. It's early on in the trip. But I think we got our seating right at this stage, and we're settling in. So we went up to the end of Meyrings, and that's where the R407 back to Willowmore, which is a lovely dirt road that we've done before, comes in. And we turned around there, if I remember correctly, and we headed back to De Rust to make the rest of our trip. But as you said, you can't go past Meyrings. Meyrings is a road that you do, you don't go past it.
Yeah, and I think this is just where Graham gave us a pick that that's where we turned around.
That's right. That's the road back. And
then obviously after De Rust, now we're on our way. So great weather again, Chris.
Fantastic weather, and we're now heading towards. From De Rust to Oudtshoorn.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go on also a very beautiful road, the R328. We'll eventually get onto that, and that takes us down to Mossel Bay.
Mossel Bay, yeah.
Pass Robbins Pass.
That's it.
And a small little hamlet called Ruitersbos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here we are getting into Mossel Bay, eh?
That's right, yeah. Into Mossel Bay. So we go straight through it, exit it, turn left onto the R328 to take the last stretch of this day's trip to Mossel Bay. There wasn't a breath of wind either.
No.
I can't recall any wind. It was just a lovely day of riding.
And that night we went out for dinner.
Yes.
We met John's two friends.
That's right. They joined us.
That was Glenn and...
Glenn, I've forgotten the other guy's name, unfortunately. Yeah. But they briefly joined us on the day, and then they did their own thing, and then we met up with them later at Rivière Castile with John and Glenn.
This is the next morning, Chris, where we were on the road to the first bit of dust.
there we go. So we've now left Mossel Bay, and that's a very exciting day ahead of us, because we had planned quite a bit of dirt hugging the coast from Mossel Bay all the way to Arniston, or Waarneyskrans, or Cape Agulhas, all the same area. And yes, here we go left, and the excitement starts. So we're actually there heading down towards Gouritsmond.
That's right.
Gouritsmond was the first little coastal town or resort, and then from Gouritsmond, we'll see a bit later. He has quite a discussion about whether it's left, right, or straight. That's Saul and Colin that also joined yourself, Steve, and then Nick. So there was 5 of us.
And this is where we go down actually to the coast itself.
Yeah, that's right. So we go right down to Gouritsmond. We had a look then, and then we turned back on Gouritsmond, past the tar road, and then we went left onto the P1525, which is a really secondary coastal road that hugs the coast all the way to Stilbay, or Stilbaai as they call it.
Stilbaai.
Yeah, still entering Gouritsmond.
Now, Gouritsmond, what does that mean?
Dis die Gourits rivier.
Well,
so I don't know.
Gourits.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything. Hey?
I think it's Gourits. It's probably the surname of someone, and the river is named after it. Yeah. Beautiful weather once again. There was a little bit of a chill in the air that morning. It was fresh riding. Yeah, we're heading back out of Gourits now.
And you remember?
No, we're still coming into that parking way.
Do you remember the tortoises on this road? I don't know if you saw it. I saw one.
You saw the tortoise?
Yeah, I saw one.
I do remember. Yeah, as we go onto the parking bay, there was beach sand, and I almost lost traction. Yeah.
No, it's not here.
Isn't it here? Was it? It was further down.
Further down.
It was further down. That's right. Yes.
No, this one, we just saw some fellow bikers.
Oh yeah, that's right. These were the 2 ladies. They were on Harleys, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think they were Harleys.
They were Harleys. Yes, they were Harleys. I went over and spoke to them, and asked them if they knew the roads around here, and they said no. Well, they're not actually from here. They're from Mossel Bay. Now, that's only 35 kilometers from there, So I thought to myself, well, the radius of knowledge is obviously 10 k's outside of your doorstep, not any further. That's right. Yeah, that's when I asked their advice. That's a spot check of us all, getting ready for some serious dirt on the day. And this is heading out, back out Gourits, and then we're going to get on the dirt called the P1525. And that will take us right across to Stilbay.
There you go.
And there we go. Man, what a fantastic experience. We actually did quite a bit of gravel that day.
Yes, we did.
We had a good fill of these gravel roads, and they were generally in good condition.
Not bad, Chris.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Bit dusty,
but a couple of areas where there was dry, and marbles, as you would get it, some loose gravel. Not too much. Well, a
little bit of loose sand.
A little bit of sand, but not any.
You just got to watch where you're riding. That's it.
Take a good line, and the sand wasn't deep. There were maybe 1 or 2 areas where you had to watch out a bit more. So this took us all the way to a junction, a tar road junction that comes from the N2 down to Stilbay, called the R305. So from our dirt road now we turned left into this R305, and now we're heading straight south to Stilbaai.
And look at that view.
And this is we actually been hugging the coast all along on this dirt road. Although it was maybe 5-6 kilometers inland at times, and we get to Stilbaai. And the weather just seemed to clear out a bit more. It warmed up quite a bit. and it was a new experience seeing Stilbaai.
I must say, I mean, I've never been to this spot before.
No.
And it's stunning. It really is superb.
No, there's some real beauty there at Stilbaai. And we stopped, we entered Stilbaai, we filled up at the garage.
Yeah.
Had a quick drink.
A Coke and a chocolate.
Coke and a chocky. Some energy. And
by the way, I must tell you, I put on 3 kilos on this trip.
That's a good sign. You can't come home hungry, you know, then something's wrong. And we worry about light luggage.
Yeah.
Well, we got to build it in to start off with.
Yeah, you've got to have a little bit of latitude. You know?
Yeah. So we filled up, had our chocky and Coke here, and then we asked the guy where the nearest restaurant was, and he looked at us, looked at me, and he says, "Jy gaan na 2 Jongensfontein toe." En dan as jy by 2 Jongensfontein is, dan gaan jy na die 3 pikkewyne toe.
Ja, die 3 pikkewyne.
3 pikkewyne. So yeah, that's what we then did, and here we are entering 2 Jongensfontein.
Yeah.
And we're now going to stop at die 2 pikkewyne.
Die 3.
Yeah, sorry, let me get it right this time. Die 3 pikkewyne. Might actually say it there, hey?
Yeah.
3 pikkewyne, there you go, yeah, die 3 pikkewyne. Quite a few other bikers pitched up, some were there already. And with ourselves, I would say there was probably 15, 20 bikers.
Yeah.
But then again, it was a Sunday morning, so
everybody's relaxed.
Yeah, beautiful day.
Look at the color of the sea as well. I mean,
it's a very beautiful little village, that Jongensfontein.
That Jongensfontein, the houses look to be a little bit more upmarket, eh?
No, it's bougie.
Yeah,
it's definitely bougie. You know, often when you come into places and there's a caravan park, and you have a look at the caravan park, it immediately tells you what the town is like. And that caravan park was immaculate.
Yeah.
You know, everything was orderly, it was clean, and you could have it. If you looked at the campers that were there, you could already see the standard. Yeah. We had a bite to eat here, and we weren't that hungry, but just as well.
Yeah.
Because it was a long day. It turned out to be a long day, and it's almost like putting petrol in your tank. You know, you want to refuel when you can as well.
There's an Afrikaans saying,
Eet vir die honger wat kom.
You're eating in case there's problems in the future.
That's so true. Eet vir die honger wat kom. Yeah, no, that's exactly what we did. We enjoyed it so much sitting there and having our coffee and our sami that I think we actually spent quite a lot of time there. Maybe a couple of minutes too long, knowing that we still had a route to go. Then we headed out of Stilbaai, on eventually the dirt road going out of town, and now things really got exciting because we had to get to the pont, the ferry at Malgas.
Yeah.
And we hugged a coastal dirt road to a very tiny little town called Vermaaklikheid. It's not actually a town. I think there are two homes there. And
didn't somebody say to you, you mustn't blink?
Yeah, no, that lady said to us, and I said to her, no man, it's this road, that road. She says, meneer, jy gaan tot by 'n sign wat sê die bos, en dan daar draai jy links en dan ry jy. En as jy verby Vermaaklikheid is, sonder om te weet, dan is jy op die regte pad. So
did you see that little bit of sand there? That was the trouble. Yes, that
is
beach sand. Not easy to ride on.
That's what it is. Yes. And that piece of that sand now is at Witstrand. Okay, we're about 40 kilometers from the Malgas pont, and you're with Carl and Saul, and the little pump going in the background. What did we do, man? We just flat tire. How did you pick it up? Did you just start feeling the bank? Oh, did they? Just as well these things have sensors, eh? That's life saving, eh, Carl? Green light came on, yeah. That is amazing. Yeah, though, warning light went on. BMW, but it's incredible. Anyway, we plugged it, we're pumping it, and then we're going to make the ferry our next destination. Yes, Stevie, our mechanic man.
advisor of note. What a pleasure. Got it done.
So yeah, Steve, we ended. This is past Witstrand now, on the road to the pont at Malgas, the ferry at Malgas, and it's about 30 kilometers before we got to the ferry. You and I realized that the others weren't behind us anymore, and we had no cell phone connection. So we turned around, and then we found Nick and Colin and Saul. And Colin
with a puncture.
And with a puncture. And
it was not an easy one to fix because he'd actually slit the tire a bit.
Yeah, I also, the first plug wasn't done properly, and then, tried the second plug, tried to put in a third plug, and then we limped. We would pump the tire. We used 2 mobile pumps, battery to the extent, and we would go 2-3 kilometers and pump again, and so we got to the ferry in time.
That's why it's called adventure ride.
Yeah, totally. and what a float, what a ferry, the Malgas Pont. It works from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening when the river is not in flood or where there are no storm conditions, and it takes motorized vehicles, cars and motorcycles. It does not take pedestrians.
Look at the size of that generator.
Yeah, no, it's a big pulley system. And it's been around forever and a day.
And it's one you don't pay for.
You don't pay for it.
No, it's just free of charge.
It's free of charge. It used
not
to be
much is free these days.
Not at all. Not at all. And it used to be a manual system. And I believe about 2-3 years ago they put the generators on, and people have complained because there have been times where the generators haven't worked and they can't get across. When I saw this and I saw that bank there, and I thought to myself, well, what if that bank is wet and we now have to ride up there? And it seemed like the river was taking us a bit, but somehow it corrects itself, and the gates go down, and we were able to limp our way forward with concern for Colin's wheel.
They must have a cable that runs under the water there that it's using to straighten itself out and whatever.
It's difficult to say how this actually works. Maybe it's just the last bit, the tightening of the cable as it comes down to the bank, to its guides. But as you say, I mean, look at this now. But also these guys know what they're doing. They're probably slipping that pulley a bit and letting go a bit. And here we are now. Now we're trying to get to Bredasdorp.
And pumping Colin's tire.
And pumping Colin's tire every 4-5 Ks. It's down to about 1.3 bars, and we pump up again. And we had to hold the reins on Corporal Horwitz because we slowed him down at one stage and saying, just take it easy. You can't go 100 kilometers an hour with a flat tire on a dirt road. But you can see the shadows are stretching a bit. So finally, we arrived last light. I mean, actually, at sunset, we arrived at Arniston Hotel.
Yeah, and actually, I think this is sunrise.
Oh, was this the next morning?
The next morning.
Sunrise. Yes. Okay, well, maybe just cut out what I said there. So we arrived at Arniston the night before, last light. This is first light in the morning. This is dinner.
This is dinner the previous night. Magic dinner.
Yeah, we had a lovely dinner.
And then we left Arniston, and then remember we stopped at, where was this that we stopped just to put on rain suits?
This is at Bredasdorp. So we had to get back to Bredasdorp because Colin's tire was fixed.
Yes.
By an incredible outfit. We phoned this chap the previous day. He sent a taxi to take Colin back to Varneskraal, to Arniston Hotel. The taxi fetched him the next morning, and when he got to Bredasdorp, they'd already done his tire.
So Nick, how was the lunch? How did you feel about it?
Very good. Had a nice chicken pie with gravy and chips.
Very nice.
Very nice. It's nice and cool now. Putting on our rain jackets just in case.
Well, I think we only got about 80 kilometers to go.
I'd rather dry than wet.
Yeah, put the raincoat on. Let's have a look at the weather. Bit suspect.
So we left Varneskraal Arniston Hotel, and the destination was Paarl, and we went from Paarl to Bredasdorp to Napier, from Napier to Stanford to Hermanus, and then from Hermanus, Clarence Drive, Royals, Betty's Bay, Pringle Bay, right up to Gordon's Bay, and then we turned to Grabouw, and that's where the previous shot of Nick putting on his rain suit was. Then we had huge wind, and we headed over Franschhoek Pass, into Franschhoek, and then eventually to Paul, and we're now at Diamant Estate. And this is where this footage is. What a beautiful estate, Steve.
Yeah. And that washing there, it wasn't yours, Chris. It was some other guests that had put their socks on the table.
Okay, well, thanks for that. I thought it might have been Crispy's underjocks.
Well,
but we just arrived.
Yes.
This was great. We were there for 2 days, eh?
Yes, 2 days. It was a great place.
Yeah.
You know, we found that we could park the bikes very close to where we slept, our rooms. And Chris, you spent a little bit of time explaining the workings of shock absorbers and things like that. It was really great, though.
Okay, yeah. Yes, some of the guys sitting. I see Graham and Crispy already relaxing. We spent 2 nights at Diamant Estate. It gave us a break, also to wash some clothes and settle in a bit and explore.
And that we went into town to have dinner, huh?
That night we went into town. We had a lovely dinner.
And Hayder got some pictures of squirrels.
Yeah, Saul unfortunately lost his wallet.
On the switch, yeah. So all the adjustability.
You saw it, that's ZF.
Yes, yeah. Yours is electronic. This is lovely if you play around with and you play. Then you can fine tune this much better.
But
than
you got to know what you're
But
doing.
you got to know what you're doing. So the rebound, great when you put some weight on. Yeah, panniers, yourself, or whatever. You just dial it in and lift the bike.
But manually.
You dial it manually, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you start learning things like, what does it really mean? You know, what does your unsprung weight mean, and what doesn't it mean? And it's, if you held the bike straight up, and you lifted it and you let it go, it's got to settle an inch. It's got to go up and then settle it an inch down. Then you've got your preload right.
That's the sag, eh?
That's the sag, yeah. And that sag is
What you
just
get
that,
in your 70s.
just that's just the first inch. If you
Talk for
don't have
yourself.
that, if you don't have that sag right, you're going to be riding like this. You're going to be like a hyena, you know. We're standing here with Nick on Jan Phillips Mountain Drive. We're right next to the Paul Rock, eh, Nick?
Yeah.
Here's the rock here behind us. Oh, can't really see much. It's hell of a high. There's an oak standing right on top of it.
Is that a human?
Hey? Maybe it's a fence post. But what's a beautiful vista. We're looking down over the whole Paul Valley here in front of us. They say it's about a 10-kilometer dirt road from one side of Paul to the other. What a pleasure. Here are the bikes.
Yeah, Saul also joined us on that particular ride.